I know I have got a couple of anime fans on this channel. For those of you who watched the Berserk anime on Netflix, the Golden Age arc, Griffith said at the end of the 3rd episode, at the fountain, he said to Charlotte, the princess, "I just can't stand those who live without purpose, just for the sake of living." When you go to a supermarket, you're much more productive and much more likely to complete your shopping if you have a list. And if you go through a day of your life, you're far more likely to get something done, or at least a few things, if you have a list of things to do for that day. But behind the concept of even making a list, what does a list accomplish to do? If it's a supermarket, the list accomplishes to feed the needs of the family adequately. Let's say if my parents are coming to visit, then I want to cater for the different food preferences or the additional food requirements as well. For those people in China or Hong Kong, due to traditional passed down cultures, they also have different food requirements for different seasons of the year, because they tune the daily diet to be beneficial for the body's different needs during the different seasons, such that food is not just a form of consumption, it is also a form of nourishment and wellness. I've talked about coming up with a to-do list in various videos of mine, and you can probably refer to some of them over here. But as we make this list, I want to talk about some of the sensations that I had when I was doing my list writing today. How would things be different if I wrote a list keeping in mind an outcome for myself better than what it is right now? What does that mean? For example, if I'm living my life, if I want to be able to do my work responsibilities or my dad responsibilities to the best of my ability, I would probably want to think ahead about some of the things that could happen so that I can prepare for them in advance. For business, it could be to ask for certain quotations from suppliers in advance in case our client wants more choice. If a payment is almost due, then I want to liaise with the accounts department to get ready the relevant invoicing. If my kid's school vacation is coming up or a long weekend ahead, I gotta start planning some activities. These are the things I need to anticipate. The point here is, can I do a repetitive to-do list every day, every week, every month, or even every year? The answer is no, because needs, season, time of year, projects involved, or what are my goals for that moment, they're always and always evolving. Beneath and before everything else, I am constantly evolving. I see myself becoming a better version of myself a year from now, a month from now, a week from now, or even tomorrow. Just as in Chinese families, we prepare food for the seasons. Just as when I write my to-do list, I plan ahead for things going to happen over the next few days or the next few weeks. I also prepare my to-do list to represent bridging the gap in response to me becoming that better version of myself and how my requirements would change. Or for those of you with family as I do, my kids becoming better versions of themselves. My kids are going through puberty right now. It could also be in the form of bigger clothes sizes because they require larger shoes, larger shirts, longer pants. But at the same time, kids is one very good example because as they grow, their emotional needs change. Their intellectual needs change. Actually, the correct word should be evolve. And for many of us adults, although our height, our voice may not continue to grow, who's to stop us from putting on more muscle or getting leaner or getting more athletic? My point is, you're never quite the same person. For those of you who study manifestation, you may have heard of a term called the bridge of incidences. For example, if my Apple call right here want to make its way to my Stanley mug, first, it's got to encounter my wallet, then my USB wire, then my diary, before it can get here. Yesterday, I had to take a trip to visit one of the condos that I have out for rent. As you know, in Bangkok, there was a major earthquake incident. Many buildings got damaged, and the condo unit that I had various cracks. There was significant interior damage that I had to claim compensation for. So yesterday, while my goal was to travel from home to there, the bridge of incidences was that the car that was on loan to me overheated because the coolant was low. and the bonnet was stuck shut. I couldn't do anything about it. As the car got so overheated, I had to detour and get the car parked along the way and switch to taking the train instead for the remainder of the journey. However, this was also a blessing in disguise, because had I not turned in to get the car parked, just 200 meters after that spot, a roadblock was set up and I would have to waste more time explaining to the policeman at the roadblock why was the car missing a number plate in the front and why was the road tax list not updated. I mentioned this in the previous video as well. And during the time that I was at the condo getting my claim processed, because I informed my mechanic, he actually sent someone to go check it out, to prise open the car hood, top up the coolant, test it. And here's the interesting part. If he did not send me a picture that one of his workers had done that, I would not even have known, because the car was in the same spot. You might have heard, same, but different. The reason why I mention this bridge of incidences is because although, yes, we know that we want to go from point A to point B, but between point A and point B, anything can happen. As in my case, things happen for better. Due to the car acting up, I was able to avoid an unnecessary run-in with the police at the roadblock. On this note, I would like you to live your life with this idea that everything that happens in my favor. And I want you to take this mentality to embrace even things that happen like a surprise, right? And sometimes you get taken aback, well, that's not what I planned. But tell yourself, even this that I did not plan for is a part of the truth that everything is turning out for my greatest benefit. Some things that happen may come across like inconveniences, but at the same time, didn't these things prepare you to be a better person? Didn't they become like a stepping stone for you to attain greater skills in certain areas? In the last years, as I was assuming my job position in a startup company, I encountered many failures. Of course, at those times, I was hoping for the success. I'm picking my words very carefully here. I said I was hoping for the success, and I was very distraught when some of the failures came. But on a hindsight, those failures prepared me for many of the situations to come. It was most demoralizing when some of the initial deals, it was like Murphy's Law, when everything that could go wrong went wrong. At the same time, it is exactly as people say, failure is the teacher of success. Because had these failures not happened, I would never know how to deal with the conflicts that can possibly arise. I would rather have to deal with these things early on than to have a very smooth journey only to fall very hard and don't know how to deal with it. I also use the word assume this position in the startup company. Assume. That is the thing, to assume the position. Like, what are you assuming for your family as you go out to the supermarket? What are you assuming for yourself as you walk out of your door and live your day? Or are you not assuming anything at all? Are you simply just going through the motions? Are you simply just leaving things to chance? When you think of what to do and put onto paper as you make your list, you are living your life proactively. Of course, your life is constantly in motion, but if you do not add any things to it, it will be the same motion. In manifestation, they say that reality is a mirror of who you perceive yourself to be. Living proactively, like by constantly having a concept and constantly trying to improve this concept, creates a bridge of incidences towards the outcome that you desire. Think of a bicycle, right? As you pedal that bicycle, you change gears. If you're pedaling in the same gear, you go at the same speed. But if you can manage, you switch up a gear, although you're pedaling at the same speed, due to the different combination of gears, you are now going faster. And if you switch gears again and your legs can support pedaling at that same speed, you go even faster still. Living your life proactively is proactively thinking about, all right, this is the future I want. This is the version of myself I see myself becoming. What task shall I put down for myself that would enable me to bridge the incidences to that outcome that I desire? I also want to address those of you who, you're like, yeah, I wrote a list before. I wrote a list for the supermarket before. I wrote a list for my to-do list before. These days, I just do them out of memory. I do them all in my head. There's a difference to that. Memory is in the past. As we write we're thinking not just the past, we're not just going to keep repeating, but we're going to add, refine, and evolve. For those of you who do a lot of fitness training, you will realize that, yeah, of course, if you train and get yourself very fit, your basal metabolism rate will rise. And for a period of time, even if you didn't train, because your muscles are already developed, you will be burning more calories than the average person, but only for a period of time, even like for work. Recently went on holiday mode because my kids were having school holiday. I binge watched more anime than usual, few days, no, actually few weeks. I didn't write out these things, but because I worked so hard before and I had so many projects in place, even without taking on new assignments, just going with the flow of things, that carried me very far forward. But how far can that go if I don't take on any new things, if I don't plant any new objectives, right? I mentioned before, you just keep sowing, and the harvest will be huge. The harvest is a delayed gratification. But just because it's delayed gratification, it doesn't mean that you stop sowing. For those people doing agriculture, they know best. You gotta plan ahead for your festive needs or the winter needs. Because when you're importing goods from, let's say, a place like Brazil, one of the biggest agricultural countries in the world, they're a Catholic country. They have long religious breaks, like for Christmas months, etc. So during those months, the crop prices are going to rise. So if you don't prepare ahead, you're going to pay quite a pretty penny for that. In my visualization exercises, in some of my Be Inspiration series of live streams on this channel, I've done a few visualization exercises where I guided you to see an outcome of yourself, like maybe a year from now. And then we try to rewind the time by 3 months from that time. So let's say 9 months from now. What would it take for that outcome to happen? What are some of the things that you can see popping up during this time? So let's say your goal is 1 year from now. 9 months before that, what must have happened in order for that goal to make manifest? For that goal to make manifest, 6 months before that, what must have happened in your life? What's different from now? And just like how in a calendar, as a parent, I look out for school holidays on this date and this date, long weekends on this date and this date. How can I make these times the most fruitful? When you plan for your goals, take it as though it's like a calendar. Without doubt, the school holiday is going to be at that time. Without doubt, business books close at this time of the year. Without doubt, at this particular moment in the year, people would flood the orders for a particular commodity. So if you're not in, you're definitely out. But more importantly, just regard these things as truth and assume them to be true. Like I said, when I assume the position in the startup company, right? Assume these things that you want to be true in the future. We don't question if 25th of December is going to be Christmas this year or not, and would December 25th next year still be Christmas? We don't question these things, but we take it as a matter of truth. So take your goals as truth. Live from the outcome. Because if you cannot see and feel the outcome, you most certainly will not get it. And finally, as you're doing your to-do list, or let's say if you're writing your journal, sometimes we get blank, right? I get that too. What I do is that I listen to podcasts. It could be some business teacher. It could be an economist, like for example, Ray Dalio. It could be like a life coach like Simon Sinek, or manifestation related. I listen to Neville Goddard recordings as I do my journal or as I do my to-do list, and that gives me ideas. Why? Because without the fresh inputs, how will we have fresh ideas? And if we do not have fresh ideas, how will we get a new, more desirable outcome? For another great video, watch this one over here.